everyone. I'm so happy you were able to join today with Tea Time with Melissa and James Freeman. Yes, I have my husband here with me today, y'all. So I'm just excited. So welcome. So first, I just want to say a couple of things before I open up?
Hello, everyone. I'm looking forward to this tea time with my wife and our friends. So I'm just looking forward to everything.
Awesome. He's so cheesy right now, y'all. Okay, so we're gonna go around. I want everyone to say their name, say how long you've been married, and then, because last time we asked the wives from 1 to 5, how important is communication? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
How important is communication? 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. So we already have our answers from the wives. So I want to hear from the husband how important you feel communication is. So you're gonna say your name, how long you've been married, and 1 to 5, how important is communication? 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. And we can do it popcorn style.
My name is David Stewart. I'm happy to be married, and the highest.
We can't hear you, David. We didn't hear you, David.
Keep freezing.
Okay. Are we freezing?
No.
Okay. Okay, we'll go back to them. Maybe it's just a moment. All right, y'all jump in now. Brandon.
I'm so shy.
My name is Kuma Wine, and 5, communication is important, very important.
Awesome. Okay, so I hear 5. Awesome. David, you want to try again?
Yeah, you have to be married to communication is number 5, and to be married to her is number 5 also.
All right, Brandon. Thank you. Thank you, David. David trying to get some brownie points over there. All right. So I'm just happy that you're here. Huh?
What about Mr. Freeman?
Oh, that's right. Go ahead. Because I shared last time. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, we've been married for going on 10 years, and 5, I would definitely say it is very important. Communication, absolutely.
All right. So everyone has said that it's a 5. That lets us know communication is so important. And last show we talked about how communication is not just verbally what you say, but it's body language, it's facial expressions, it's withholding intimacy, it's being silent. Silence speaks volumes, right? And so it's not just what you say, it's how you say it, and all of the above that I just said. So this episode, we want to kind of talk a little bit deeper about communication. But before we do that, I have to kind of show y'all a little something. So I'm excited, y'all. This book, Destined to Win. I got to tell my people, go get it.
Let's have a look.
Yes. And in the book, I talk about communication amongst other important topics in marriage and dating. And you can purchase the book on Cheryl Publishing, and I'll make sure to put the link so you can purchase it. All right, so Destined to Win, y'all. Oh, there goes, all right, okay. All right, so I'm excited about that. I have to put that out there, y'all. All right, so today we want to quickly open up with a toast. We like to do that. Again, this is Tea Time with Melissa and James Freeman. And we're going to ask one of the men, the husbands, to volunteer and say a toast. It could be anyone.
I think David's good at that.
David's good at that.
I'm just gonna say for the last 2 years now, that it's been better in my life being with my wife, and I wouldn't change for nothing in the world.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Well, really quick, David, listen, okay, you're trying to set the bar real high for me and Brandon. I'm just saying. All
right. Awesome. Thank you for that toast. Just giving a toast to marriage, and we all know that marriage is work. So that toast goes for all of us who are present today, that it's just so much work. And exactly, David, I like how you said that. So we did an activity. And this activity, why are you making a face? This activity was very interesting. And just so everyone who's watching knows the activity, I'm just gonna explain it. I know you all know. But basically, everyone has the same set of Legos, same color, same shape. And one goes to one side of the room and they have their back turned, and the other mate goes to the other side of the room and they have their back turned. And one is the director and one is the builder. The director tells the builder exactly where to put each Lego. And they can't ask any questions. The only question that they can ask is, what did you say? But they can't ask any other questions. And then we have people take a picture and kind of look at how communication is and how you feel like you're being clear, but the builder didn't quite get it. And then the mates switched. So those who were a builder now became the director. So we got a chance to have kind of experience both sides. Okay, so now that that's out the way, people know exactly what we're talking about. Let's talk about this activity, okay? And we can start, okay? We can start. And the three things I want you to think about is, what was your takeaways? What did you realize or recognize the communication of your mate has when it comes to being the director and the builder? So that's the question. What communication styles, what did you notice about your husband or your wife when they were the director and when they were the builder? All right, you want to start?
Okay. With my wife being the director, one of the things that I found out is she is extremely detailed, but in those details, they're not good directives. But extremely detailed, but the directives were not clear. So she gives a lot of information from my standpoint of how I feel, but it wasn't clear in its messaging for me.
Oh.
As her being the director.
Okay.
Well, again, it goes hand in hand because I was listening to what you were saying, so it was difficult for me to try to build something based upon.
No, when I was the builder.
Oh, okay. So when you were the builder, I think that from what I seen of the results, I guess I can say that my communication wasn't as clear as well due to the results. So I guess we can say both of us have to learn each other's style. Because I think that the style of your communication is identified by you, like your fingerprint. So the more we understand each other's identity as far as how we communicate, we'll better understand what it is that they're trying to tell us. So that's why, so my wife is extremely detailed, and that's in everything, but sometimes the action of those things are not very clear, but she's extremely detailed.
Okay, then also, what did you notice about yourself? Were you the director and when you were the builder?
After our communication, I noticed that I did not give enough information based upon me feeling like I gave exactly what she should have known, but from my wife receiving that, my delivery was not enough information. So I guess in saying that now, I need to do more information and my wife has to be more clear.
I need to be more clear. We're just gonna, I mean, you know, that's how they do us. But listen, so I feel like when we did the activity, that when my husband was the director, I felt that he wasn't giving me enough information. And I always felt like I had a follow-up question, like, did you mean here or here? Like, but again, you can't ask any questions. So I always felt stuck, which made me feel very uncomfortable. And I think it also like made me have less patience because I'm just like, okay, I just feel lost right now. And so I kind of went to this place of like not having a lot of patience while he's telling me where to put things. When it came to building, you didn't follow any rules. He kept asking me questions. Babe, did you mean here? Did you mean? I was like, you gotta follow the rules. You're cheating. And then, y'all, he cut me off so many times. I'm like, I don't even know what I was saying. I don't know.
Oh
So like,
Jay.
I had to like start all over again and try to figure out like, did I say the blue block? Did I say? I don't even know what I said. And so then in my head, now I have a little anxiety because now I'm thinking he's placing it in the wrong place because I don't even know where I left off at because I was cut off. So in our communication styles, like we are very opposite. And that's when we recognize that, oh my goodness, we have to work on this. This is not good. But that's what marriage is. You work on it. So I want to quickly show you. I'm gonna quickly show you, how do I do this? Just share. Our picture of the outcome of when he was the director and when he was the builder and vice versa. This one right here. All right, can everyone see that? How do I make it big?
Yeah, keep the full screen.
Okay, hold on. Yep.
Oh, okay, James director. Okay.
What is that, Melissa?
Teasing her.
Look at the wheels on the ground and the wheels in the air.
Brandon, it's funny how the guys automatically know.
What's going on with Melissa director and James? That one, at least the James director looks similar. What happened to the Melissa director situation?
But again, as I was saying, my wife gives a lot of information, but sometimes it's not clear.
That looks very it's like James did it differently on purpose.
You know what, Janelle? He might have just to kind of figure out how to communicate.
That's funny.
But as you can see, it shows that we're total opposite. And so with this activity, what do you say?
It's so different.
It is very different.
Very.
So that's what this activity kind of exposes, like where you are in your communication styles and what you need to work on. And it doesn't mean that it's anything negative. What it shows is we're just different. That's what it shows. And you have to work on that the differences that you have. Anyone you marry, you're going to be different than them. So you have to learn to kind of come together.
I share.
All right. So let's get out of that. Let's stop sharing.
Then it say different languages. Excuse me, they'll pick the English.
Melissa a different language.
Okay, babe.
Brandon, stop teasing me. I try my best. All right, who wants to go next? Just say, your takeaways and how you feel you did as a director and how your spouse did as a director and builder.
I directed it, but as usual, did not listen. You did not listen.
Not give enough information. He was take this piece and then the next piece, but he wasn't giving clear directions. Like the left facing the right, straight down, saying take this piece, put it on top of that piece. He wasn't giving clear enough directions, and because I couldn't find which direction we wanted. So in one part of he said one color, but he thought he said another. So mine came out completely different from his.
Don't listen.
So
Listen to.
the other thing I noticed about him is when I'm trying to explain to him what happened, he keeps interrupting me, so he's not listening.
I do it.
How's she gonna tell me what I'm telling her?
But I told you you were saying more.
So he got to give him like clear step-by-step detailed information. And then
I had the color right.
When I was giving him directions,
Oh boy.
he wasn't listening clear enough because I was giving deep information. So I feel like he listened like he should. He's taking the time. He might be getting. Are you getting it? Like running out of patience?
No,
Did you say that you were running out of patience, or he was running out of patience?
I was asking him, was he just straight and not with
No.
But we both got to work on community skills.
Yes, yeah. All right. So let's show. I'm going to show. All right. So that's theirs, you all.
Not too bad.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah. Not bad, right?
That's not bad at all.
Mm.
You know what? Now I'm looking. I think we messed up having too many Legos. We have 10 Legos. We had like 20 Legos.
Yeah, that's true. That's a lot of Legos.
We shouldn't have did so many.
Mm.
Do we didn't have all the same pieces? No? Okay.
You're right, Melissa. Maybe
You noticed with on the right where I was there, when he told me you put the brown on, to put the brown on top of the gray. He didn't say when to have like the slanted. If he had said that, then that was my foundation more. And then when he went to the next piece, he said purple, but he said yellow. And so that's from my enough correct.
But you can kind of see where it almost is in the same family of being, okay, they listened pretty good based upon what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
That's
Yeah,
good.
no,
That's
that's,
pretty
you're
good.
right. You and James did have a lot of Legos.
Yeah, I just now noticed it looking at this. I'm like, oh, I think we had like 20. I think we had 20 Legos.
After a while, you just stop listening. Cut
Yeah.
it off.
And you know what? You're bringing up a good point. Is when you're having intensive, hard conversations, after a while, you're just like, all right, I don't want to talk about this anymore. And you kind of block it out, or you're just not really in tune anymore with that conversation, right?
It's like,
There was a point where you were like, oh, all right, and we got more steps. Come on, like he didn't have patience, and maybe because we had too many Legos, so we have to try that again.
And I think I think in conversations of communication, I think that it shouldn't drag out too long. I think that it should be getting to the point, being honest with each other, because if it's too long, I'll speak for myself. It's like, they go right to the point. Let's go. You know, tell me what's going on. But when you want to give me this long setup, and then it's like, no, babe, just tell me what I did so I can correct it and we can move forward on the next thing and we can cuddle and watch some television together or do something. But if you go that long with it, then I get upset. I'm like, all right, what you doing? I'm gonna go to sleep. And it's like the conversation could have went so much more positively, but because we take too long and get into the point, well, I can speak for me. I don't want to speak for any other two gentlemen, but yeah. I'm gonna get to the point person.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I just woke me up. She just woke me up to do mine. I was sleeping, waiting for you to do this here, and then she wakes me up in the middle of my sleep talking about we gotta go build. It didn't sit right with me.
Timing's everything.
Yeah. He probably was tired. Oh my goodness. And you know what my husband was saying is true. I feel like most men feel like that. Like they just want you to step 1, step 2, step 3. And most women have a lot to say. I have a lot to say. Before I can say why I'm upset or why I'm hurt, I have to kind of break it down of what happened before that. Even if it sounds small, for me, it's a big thing. So even in like marriage, we have to learn to hear the person. Even if you feel like it's a long time, because just like in the activity, you see how like there was some mistakes because we're not listening or because now we're tired. We still have to learn to just take a moment, breathe in, breathe out, and listen so you get the full story so that you can get everything that person's saying. And that's hard. And so that's why communication is like, there's no marriage where they're like, oh, we perfected communication. Not one, I can't find one. So what you do is you have to learn each other's communication styles, and this is what the activity does for us. So hopefully, next time we have conversations that may be difficult or intense, we think about this activity and say, okay, I know that my husband prefers this, or I know my wife prefers that, and then kind of start the conversation in that direction so you can be successful. Because it's all about being successful, right, y'all?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Oh, okay, Brandon was gonna say something? Oh, yes, yeah. All right, you guys ready? Brandon, Janelle?
Yeah.
Sure. So for our exercise, with me being the builder, I executed flawlessly. So she gave directions. I listened, and the bill came out, like she wanted it, and that's just being able to train myself over 9 years of marriage, just to be able to listen to her, know what she wants, and how to follow instructions. So it came out pretty good.
First of all, you were not flawless, okay? So, first of all, I'm great at communicating, okay? Well,
I just said it was flawless. If she said she was a great communicator, that means I got
I'm
it
great
flawless.
at giving directions. So he followed my instructions really well. The issue came when he was giving directions. He was giving directions from his perspective. So because of how he was positioned, he was saying left and right, but my position was not left and right. It was like front and back based off of how I was sitting. But he didn't take that into account. So those things threw off your builder situation.
No.
So when you're building and you're giving instructions, you got to consider, like, not look at it from your perspective, but you got to look at it from my perspective as well.
Yeah. I didn't think that was an issue, though. I didn't think that was an issue. However, both builds came out pretty good. I was very happy with both builds. The only thing that that I can say about when my wife was the director, I did ask some questions, and that's only because I didn't get the full the rules.
But I didn't tell you the directions. I told you that you only could say it again. I couldn't give you the instructions.
Right. So I didn't fully understand the rules, but after I understood the rules, I had no problems. But then when I was the director, I gave detailed instructions. There was just, a couple hiccups, but nothing where I can flat out say she didn't follow instructions or she wasn't listening. She pretty much got it.
But one of the things I can say, like, I know with me, I am, like James says, I can be impatient. So I'm like, oh my God, let's just get this over with, right? Like, so I did notice that about myself. Like when he was giving instruction, I was like, okay, just keep going. He would like repeat the instructions even when I didn't ask him to repeat it. I'm like, you don't got to repeat it, just keep going. So Brandon is very detail oriented. If he's giving me a story, he has to tell me the background of the story, why it took place. I'm like, just get to the point. Like
I did that because I didn't know. I thought she wasn't listening to me.
He made an assumption.
No, I thought that because of the body language and facial expressions. Remember you talked about that, Melissa?
Brandon, we did talk about that.
Contest.
Thank you, Brandon. It's all right.
I'm winning.
Safe space.
Sis, you said facial expression. You just did a facial expression. That was like excellent timing.
So you felt like because of her facial expression, she wasn't listening.
Correct.
Stop making up stuff.
But I like, you know what? I like that you use the word perspective, right? Because that's what it is, right? It's your perspective, how you see it, and then it's your mate's perspective and how they see it. And that's why sometimes we can't understand each other, because you can't see what I'm seeing, or you can't feel what I'm feeling, right? And so when you're not connected in that way, it is going to be the opposite for you. So I think that's not a bad thing. I just believe that that's also something we need to be aware of, that, okay, this is how I see it, but if he's saying this is how he sees it, and kind of take that in consideration and work forward and how to communicate. Even though we're looking at all of our flaws, we didn't show yours. We have to share it. Let's go. Here we go.
Oh, okay. They did very well.
As you can see, my instructions were great.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
But his
Wow.
instructions were interesting.
Yeah, almost identical. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean, even if the colors aren't the same, like placement was very similar.
Yeah, that's really good.
All right, that's good.
We still working on communication. Don't get it twisted.
Now, see, so the only difference on the brand and director was that if you see the blue piece is in the wrong position, that's because I gave the direction as 8 circles on top, but she miscounted.
Okay, so you're saying she didn't listen very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't listen. I just don't know.
Yeah, so she didn't count that part, so that's why that's off.
Mm-hmm.
The orientations for Brandon too were different.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they did an excellent job.
But that was good. I mean, they're almost very identical. So like, good job. Kudos to you all. That's awesome. All right. So that was exciting to learn, right? Like communication styles of your mates. So now you can try to implement that. Think about that when you're having difficult conversations. I think it's a plus to do these kind of activities.
Yeah.
Are there any other takeaways you think the audience needs to hear about when it comes to an activity like that, or something that you were like, oh, I wish I would have said that, but my turn was over?
No, just if you listen during this exercise, just carry it on with you throughout, the marriage.
You doing, Shay?
Yeah.
That's good advice, Brandon, right? And I that's actually excellent advice, right? Not just do it one time and say, okay, we learned something, do it again. Like we're gonna do the activity again. We're gonna use 10 pieces instead of 20, because that's ridiculous.
And I'm very competitive, and yeah, we were the worst, so no, we have to change it.
Got that Jordan syndrome.
Listen, but you know what? I think that I'm learning even while I'm in this, giving her more detail, because that's who she is, will probably help her. So that's what I have to do, give her more detail, because my wife loves detail. So I think in the next exercise, I'll give her more detail so she can understand what it is that I'm saying. And then when Janelle and Brandon was talking about the positioning, I think we had that same issue with the left and right, where we were sitting at. So that was kind of confusing as well. But again, just giving her more detail, I think moving forward would be, even in just an everyday conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I'll do less detail. That's gonna be hard. All right, so anyone else want to share something?
I believe this will help you way to communicate and to understand people. It's not just with your wife or your husband. It's during.
Yep. So not just with your wife or your husband, but communication all around. Yeah, I believe that, right? And we learn that when we are when we have coworkers, right? If you're someone in leadership, there are some people you're like, I just need to do this, do that. They're gonna get it. And there's other people like, I need to actually have a meeting with them for them to get it. They're visual learners. I need to show them and then let them go ahead and take the task. So that is very true, like learning people's communication styles all around, not just your husband and your wife. So those who are watching, take these nuggets, because if you're in leadership, if you're in ministry, if you're married, if you're dating, like these are things that you want to make sure you're doing to be successful, when what you say is what you mean and what you mean is what you say, and everyone can see that. So I went online, I was just looking at some tips that I found. It's just tips for better communication. And it's so funny, like many of these things we've already mentioned in our last show, but I still wanted to kind of have us have some kind of takeaway, right? So the first thing they said is find the right time. And we said that last week. Make sure your timing is right when you want to have those conversations, right? And David said it very clearly. He said, she woke me up and talking about we got to build. So, right, maybe that wasn't the right time, right? Maybe that's why he said the wrong color. Like he probably was tired, still trying to wake up. So I'm just saying, right? Timing is everything, and we know that. Like, your husband comes home stressed, your wife comes home stressed, or you know they're having issues at their job, or sometimes if they didn't even say anything, their face is telling it all. Okay, this is not the time to talk about the stuff that's bothering me, because the conversation is not going to go where you want it to go, right? And then they said too, talk face to face. They said the worst thing to do is to text during an argument. And you know this, we're in new times now. People text, right? You may be upset, you hurt my feelings. I'm saying that's the worst thing to do, because people can interpret a tone. They can interpret how loud you may be or how quiet you may be because of how they're feeling and what's in their head, right? You may be very calm, like, I was hurt last night and I did not like when you said, and what they're hearing is, I was hurt last night. I did not like what you said. And you're like, that's not even what I was saying. I wasn't even mad when I was texting you. But so they were saying, always do it face to face, because that person can see your humility, which we talked about last week. They can see your sincerity. They can see that you're sorry. They can see that you really want to have this conversation. And that's so important that they can see that. So talk face to face. And then 3 said, do not attack. So do not attack. Don't have your guard up. Don't be ready to quickly have something to say, that so much so that you're not hearing what's being said. You're just like, okay, as soon as he stops talking, I'm gonna say this. Or as soon as she stops talking, I'm gonna say this. So we're saying, make sure you don't attack. Make sure you're listening, and you're not always just wanting to have something back to say. And then 4 said, be gentle but honest. So we know that clear, honest communication is vital in a marriage, right? If you just go years and say, well, I'm not going to say anything because it's going to hurt their feelings, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to argue, then it's just like you're sweeping everything under the rug. And then when it's time to really talk about something, all that stuff comes out. So you do want to be honest about your feelings and what's going on, but you're also going to be gentle. Be careful. And last week we talked about being gentle with their hearts and being gentle with the minds of the people you're talking to. And then it said 5, check your body language. And many people speak volumes with their body language, right? Sometimes they don't have to say anything. Just like, what's that saying that people say? If looks could kill, right? People like, if looks could kill, you'd be dead right now, right? Because the way that they looked was so intense and angry that they're like, oh, if looks could kill. And that's where that phrase came from. Like, no one said anything. It was just looks, right? So just making sure we check our body language. And some of the tips that I have taught some of my students is like holding your hand, then you can't do this and do that, right? Or sitting on your hands, so then your hands aren't everywhere. But trying to find a way to keep yourself calm while you're having that conversation is so important, because it can escalate really fast just because of your body language. And it says 6, use 48-hour rule. And I was like, what? The Bible says, don't let the sun go down in your wrath. So how was that good? But I continue to read, and it says that if you are hurt, give 48 hours, because after 48 hours, you may recognize that you don't need to have that conversation and that you don't need to say anything, because sometimes it's just what you're feeling. So you want to make sure when you're having a conversation that it is, you want to add? Oh, okay.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Okay, you don't have to.
Because I think that personally, if we're dealing with communication, I think everything should be communicated, the littlest or the smallest thing, because if it goes unchecked, then it's a possibility that that same thing can happen in 2 weeks later without any instruction as to why we were in that point in the beginning. So I think it's always good for any kind of argument or any disagreement, if you're going to use the 48-hour rule, speak about that rule just so that all parties know that hurt me. I don't like when this happens, and moving forward, let's do things ... So everyone's clear, and that's something that's not habitual, that keeps on coming every 2 or 3 months. And you say, why do you keep on hurting me? But you've never told me that that hurt you, because we never discussed it.
Yeah, I can see that way too. I think I was looking at this as more as like pick and choose your battles. There are some things that are a necessity to talk about, and there's some things after you've given it time, you do recognize like that was silly. We don't need to talk about that. And I think that's what they were more saying, like 48-hour rule, like giving yourself time. But I do agree with what you're saying too. Like if it is something that's big, it does need to be talked about. It does need to be touched on, and you do need to check in.
I believe you should have time to say something that just come out your mouth that you really can really hurt somebody to them for a while. Not for them to get over it the way you take it. So I relax before you really, you don't want to say if something you even come off to say something. You should really think about what you're gonna say.
Do me a favor, David. I know there's a lot of good nuggets in there. I couldn't hear everything. Was a little choppy. So could you repeat that? And I'm sorry that I have to make you repeat it, but it was a little choppy.
I said it's good just to you have a clean mind when you say something. Tongue is like a two-sided sword. You can say them for life, scarred them for a long time. And sometimes if you say something real bad, never really. So you should take your time when you get ready to open your mouth and say something, or just anybody really.
I agree.
And that's true. That's true. So then it also gave advice on how to communicate if you are angry, which I thought was a good one, because I feel like having surface conversations, you don't really need steps, but when you're angry, it's different. So it said to stop, take a breath, take a break before you start communicating. So a break can look whatever a break looks like to you, but take a minute so you can calm down. And I think that's important. And then it said to think. So after you calm down, think about why you are angry and how big is the problem. And so they basically think is like reflect before you go to them, and then really analyze, like, why did I get upset? So that when you do step 3, which is talk, that you are able to express exactly why it was hurtful or why you didn't like something, because you've already reflected, versus just when you're angry, you just spit out anything. I'm mad, I'm angry. And then, you bring up stuff from last year, but like give yourself a minute to reflect, so that when you are ready to talk, you're like saying exactly why you're hurt. And you've kind of taken that time to think about that. And then it said 4, which is listen. So give your mate time to talk. So don't cut them off, give them time to talk. Especially if you're the one who's angry and they're not angry, right? You've had things where you're angry and your mate's not angry, your mate's angry and you're not angry, and you try to come together, and you could tell who's more sensitive about the topic, that they're not even listening. But they're saying step 4 is make sure you listen. Make sure you listen. Give your mate time to talk and respond to what you're saying. Yeah.
So with these steps, again, from the male perspective, going back to what I said a little earlier, males and females, we measure what is big and what's small versus our perspective. So when I said earlier, everything should have a conversation, because what may be deemed really frivolous or light to my wife could in actuality to me be something very huge, and vice versa. So I think that's why, going back to these steps about stop, take a time to breathe, in that breathing, don't look at it from your perspective. Say, James, how does your wife feel about this? Because if I go into it with me, I'm just going to still keep my, blinders on and focus on how I see it, versus, I may look at that as a non-issue, but to my wife, it's huge. So again, going back to that 48-hour rule, I do understand it, but I believe everything has to have a conversation. But it's how you have that conversation will determine if that thing gets resolved or more things become uncovered.
I will say, woman's perspective to the men, when you're going to communicate, try talking in low voice. Because sometimes men, like my husband, has the tendency to talk high-pitched voice and don't yell at me. And he's saying I'm not yelling, just talk. So
talk loud.
Like, so I can you, because if I feel like you're me, I'm gonna. So if we want each other you need to talk to each other in a low armpit. Because sometimes men have that tendency of talking loud, not necessarily yelling, but depending on a woman, she could take it as your, and then it turns into something worse than it really should be.
I agree with that, because I feel like men, when they're naturally talking, that even if they don't feel like their volume's going up, that their volume is going up. And when their volume goes up, it does make the conversation go in another direction, because now you feel like you're attacking me, you're yelling at me, you're upset, right? More emotions arise because of the tone. And so we have to try to make sure we have a neutral tone. I do agree with that. Husbands and wives, because sometimes it's us, right? We had a long day and whatever, we're going through our stuff and our volumes go up. And when volumes go up, that's when the conversation is not going to be healthy.
Came from a family with 10 kids, so I talk loud all the time. That's
a thing? Is that a thing, or is that an excuse?
David, you come from 8, I mean 10, I come from 8, and I have a very strong voice, and I'm not yelling, but it's strong.
Right,
and
right.
My wife's like, why are you yelling? I'm like, babe, this is just how I project. So
projecting.
Yeah, we have the same issue. I say I'm not screaming. I'm not. What are you talking about? Same thing with us.
Yeah.
So we have to work on that. We got to work on that, y'all. All right. So I want us to end with some fun. So I have some questions that I'm gonna ask, and you're gonna answer the question about your mate. All right. So, and we can do a popcorn style. So whoever wants to go first. So the question is just like, how well do you really know your partner? So the point of doing this too is to remember that the way we learn our partner is by conversation. So some questions we may not be able to answer because we haven't really listened to them, or we weren't sensitive to what they were saying, or we weren't paying attention. Sometimes it's simply paying attention. All right, so but we want to have some fun with it. All right, so the question is, when your partner was a child, what did they want to be when they grew up? When your partner was a child, what did they want to be when they grew up?
Want to be my wife.
Oh man.
Okay, Fee, is that the right answer?
I wanted to be married, yes. I didn't want to be married, but yes, I did want to be married.
All right.
So.
And then what about, you want to answer, Fee?
I think David said to me what he wanted to be, what wanted to be, well. And I don't think I asked.
We didn't hear you. Say it one more time.
I said I don't think I ever said he wanted to be when he was little, what he wanted to be when he grew up. And I didn't ask.
Okay. Okay, maybe y'all can have that conversation later, right? Mm-hmm. All right, Brandon.
Yeah, my wife wanted to be a cashier.
That's not funny.
All your money.
I just thought it was so fascinating.
Okay.
Like I was young, I was like, oh my gosh, they're typing so fast, and I was just so into it.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I actually went down south this past Christmas to see my grandfather, and I remember I wanted to be a cash register woman, I would say. And then they had a little book when I was around 3 years old, and it said the same. She wants to be a cash register woman. So I was just so fascinated with it. So Brandon wanted to be an entrepreneur. He always was selling things. Some people say hustling. Appropriate things. He was always interested in entrepreneurship, some way. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
What else did you want to be?
A rapper.
Yeah.
Oh, Brandon want to be a rapper, okay.
Entrepreneur though.
But entrepreneur, yeah.
Sold newspapers.
Yeah, I sold newspapers and all that stuff. So yeah, I always wanted to be entrepreneur.
Very entrepreneur.
Yeah. So that's a fair assessment.
Okay, awesome.
For my wife, from what we discussed, it was something in teaching people, whether it's an educator and a singer, are the two that she always told me that she wanted to be since she was a little girl.
Yeah, that's true. Good job. You listen. Okay.
Now this is the key one here. Now listen to this one.
No, because he talks so much that there's so many different things that can come on mind. But one, I know that he wanted to be a basketball player.
That was fun.
And he did own a barbershop, and that's still something that he can see himself doing, and that he's always wanted to do when he was younger. So, I'm saying, trying to make somebody out listen.
Yeah. Pro ball player and owned several businesses, and I owned one at 24. I won't say it's a full service salon, but we had a hair braider, but it was a barbershop.
All right,
Let me just say this so people are not confused. When I got a little older, I didn't want to be a cashier as a woman. All right. I'm now an educator, music educator. I think I was trying to
wait a minute, this is about to go out. We're gonna make sure this is real clear.
As I got older, things changed. But when I was really young, I really wanted to do that.
Oh, well, I should say I am an entrepreneur. I was a magazine owner. I'm a real estate professional now, and my
app developer.
Yeah. So I am an entrepreneur, and I am a songwriter as well. I have songwriting credits.
Okay, I didn't know that about you then. Okay, songwriter. All right. So next question, y'all ready?
Yes.
All right. Did your partner have a nickname as a child? What was it? That's the bonus point. What was it? And did they like the nickname? And why?
Okay.
Yeah, just lovely.
There's another one I have. Melissa calls me sometimes.
Oh, Jizz.
Yeah. And Brandon had a nickname.
Wait, he didn't answer the bonus question.
Oh.
Did she like it? Yeah, people still call that today.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Big head. I'm sorry. No. No, people called him Skittles in high school. I didn't know that.
Skittles.
In high school reunion, they're like, "Oh, Skittles." I'm like, I knew you for 20 years, and I didn't know it was your nickname. I don't think he liked it because he never told me.
Okay.
Is that true?
I just never thought about it.
So did you like the name Skittles?
I wasn't opposed to it. Yeah, I mean, my name is Brandon.
I call him Brand.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
My wife's nickname, and I believe I liked it.
Yeah.
We still call it now.
He said her nickname was Fee, and she liked it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Fee.
This is, I believe they would call him Stu, and they still call him Stu from time to time.
Does he like the name Stu?
Yeah.
Well, my wife has two that I know of. And the one that I hear everyone say is Ms. or Missy. So Ms. or Missy are the two that I always hear. So I don't know if there's any more. Are there any more?
No. That's
okay, yeah. And I believe she likes them both. Right?
Yeah.
And who gave you that name, Miz?
You did.
Right.
Oh, so Jizz and Ms. Oh, okay. Okay.
27 years ago, accountant. Excuse me.
27 years in counting. That's right. Okay, so they called him Jamie when he was younger.
Oh.
They did call you Jamie.
My mama.
He always says they called him Jamie. Free. Yeah, but they mostly called you Jamie. Your friends called you Free, right?
Yeah, my friends call me Free.
So his family called him Jamie, and his friends called him Free.
Oh, wow.
Free, he did like that name. I don't know if he would like it now.
I mean,
It has nothing to do with basketball, does it? It doesn't have nothing to do with
They just, they shorten Freeman, call me Free all the time, like, yo, free, whatever.
Okay.
And Jamie, I don't like that now, but nah, I dropped the IE, put the ES on it, call me James.
Yeah, See, as he got older, he didn't like James. Sounds like, a little boy. What was his closest before he left? Okay, ready for the next question?
Mhm.
Which one? You want to pick a question?
Let's see. Wow, I'm gonna pick one that I may not even know. What is your partner's favorite smell? Mm. Mm.
Baby, your face look all confused.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I pick one that I gotta think on that one, babe.
Everybody silent.
I think
My-
Red was mine. I just don't know his.
My wife's is Clinique.
Nice.
Oh, okay, nice. Hey, did you just whisper that to him?
No.
No, sir. All right.
My wife likes peppermint.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Peppermint.
Okay.
Essential oil.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
I don't know his.
I don't got her favorite smell.
Oh, okay.
He likes barbecue chicken.
Yeah, I can't. That's his favorite smell. I can't.
He's always like, oh, it's barbecued outside. Oh, I don't barbecue.
Well, well, I guess, yeah.
He's from Chicago. Barbecue.
Yeah, I guess that could be a favorite smell. I do like the
I
smell.
just went along with that, babe.
I would say I think black. Is it called black?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called black.
Prada black.
Prada black. That's what it is. What about me?
My wife, it's two smells. Chocolate smell, she just go crazy.
Yeah.
I don't love the smell of chocolate. I like chocolate.
Okay.
I like to eat chocolate. That wouldn't be smell.
Thank you.
The smell?
No, she
Right.
loves chocolate.
I know, but look, the smell of chocolate.
Anywhere we go, you smell that, hun? I'm like, oh my goodness.
I want fudge brownie.
So and I would say, and I don't know, the second one, I don't know if it's a food or and you love the popcorn smell, because those are the ones that always get her to say something. So chocolate smell and popcorn, right or wrong?
So my favorite smell is white musk, the perfume.
Okay.
I love white musk, like that soft, like summery smell.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the perfume I just bought you, but I just bought you that. But you said
I
you
like
it.
Coach. Coach smells good, but that's not my favorite. I like the way Coach smells. All right, so we can do one more question.
So David's is I know Egyptian musk and cool water.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
David back to his head like, yep, okay.
David, I see you, David, the old school player.
All right, so we're gonna end there. That's just like some fun questions you can ask your partner just to get to know them better. I literally just went on the internet. It was like questions that you should know about your spouse, and like tons of questions came up. And it's just like a good way to have a healthy conversation that's not difficult, right? Because we're really focused on like difficult conversations, but just to talk about anything. I know sometimes when James is on his phone, there'll be a post that'll come up that'll say which one has to go, and be like 4 different kind of like desserts or foods, and then he'd be like, oh, that gotta go, and I'm like, no, this one gotta go. But it's just like you get to know each other, so having like surface conversation is just as healthy as having those big conversations. So we don't want to overlook just having conversation and having fun and laughing like we just did just now. So listen, we are gonna end on that note. Does anybody have anything they want to add? Because I don't want to cut anyone off. If they want to add, let the people know. Everyone's smiling like.
Well,
good?
I'll just reiterate what you said. Always have conversation. The conversation shouldn't always be a heavy conversation, because that's what makes conversation with your mate difficult. So have random conversations. Like with me, I'll have random conversations. Jeopardy is one of my favorite shows. So I'll just always say, why you know all this random information? I'm just like, that's just me, babe. But I try to just have random conversations just to understand my wife and get a better perspective of where she is in just everyday life instead of, we got to have a conversation because ... makes those conversations a lot more difficult. Oh, all right, let me see. All right, so she's giving me the plug. Also, don't forget, everyone, Destined to Win. My wife was a part of this book and she did a great job in her section. I would say, please go out and purchase this book. My wife will leave the description below. I hope and pray that you enjoy it. I hope and pray that it blesses your life and that this is one of many books that she and I, hint, hint, will be doing. So again, go out and get Destined to Win.
All right, so let's end on a toast like we do. Hold your mugs up. You want to give a toast?
I enjoyed myself. I'm so happy to have the Stewarts. I'm so happy to have the Hoffmans with us. And yeah, I look forward to many more. This is a rough draft, but I think we did really well, fellas.
Yeah, I agree. We did excellent.
And there you go.
Let's toast to communication.
Absolutely.
Right.
Hey, Noah.
All right, I'm so happy that everyone was able to join. Thank you so much for joining. This was our second episode and it was awesome. And it was awesome because you were here and you made it awesome. We couldn't have had a great show if just me and him. I think like,
I think so.
I'm pretty captivated.
Yeah.
Anyway. He's out of control. But, you know, I think it's good to have more than just one perspective when you're talking about things as heavy as communication and difficult conversations. So we thank you so much for joining, and we will have many more. And we thank you for being our special guest today.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah. All right. All right. Y'all look awesome too. So try to still enjoy your day. It's 7:40, but you can still like, you know, squeeze in a walk or something or hang out, do something.
Eat.